All right, Shalom, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. My name is YAH Yasharal. I'm with my brother Kased Yasharal. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. How's it going?
Praise Yah, praise Yah. We're happy to be here on YAH Shabbat. You know, we got to thank the Most High. We woke up for another day. Obviously, we had a few losses this week. You know, brothers just passing. You know, we're seeing a lot more death than we're used to seeing. So, you know, every day that you get to wake up and fight, like you said earlier in our talk, the good fight, you know, praise Yah for those days. How things on your end, brother?
Things are well. Just trying to continue to cleave to the Most High and seek His will.
Amen. Amen. And again, we are Save Your Word of YAH, Tabernacles of the Congregation of Yisrael. This is our weekly Shabbat study. The title of today's Shabbat study is going to be Grace for Humility. Grace for Humility. And one thing that we have to understand, you know, the Father chose, you know, his priests and his high priests to be men of like passions to all other men. They go through the same struggle, that have to fight the flesh like everybody else, have failed and made the same mistakes. You know, so all of those individuals are supposed to have much grace and much patience for the flock, because they themselves who have been given a responsibility to be givers of the law are also those that break the law. So they shouldn't be coming at people without grace, without humility. So when you stay in that humble state, that same grace is extended unto you. Even if man is not giving it to you, Yah will give that to you. So we're going to touch on that and see how we can, while we're in this grace period, before the judgment comes, before the day of Yah arrives on us, was his anger, that we can utilize this grace period. Before we get into that, we're going to do a little bit of current affairs, current events. Obviously, you know, everybody is hearing now about the internet blogger Kevin Samuels, the brother's death. He was kind of a dating coach, you know, patriarch, enforcer, and he had a lot of strong opinions toward him. Because he himself had a lot of strong opinions. And personally, just from what I've seen at the core, I feel like the brother really was trying to do some good work. He was trying to help in what way he knew. But from his own videos, he proclaimed that, look, I'm messed up. I'm not the level of perfection. You know, he's just trying to share what he can share. Now, some of the manner that he did it, and the harshness and the lack of compassion towards our brothers and sisters, the tough message, I don't necessarily agree with. Just like some of my elders at times when they deliver tough messages, I may not agree with the delivery, but I respect the message. So with this brother, you know, with him passing away, it's sad to see, you know, within our own community, people, you know, cheering and you know, women, especially Hebrew women, cheering for this brother's death, or Hebrew brothers cheering for this brother's death. Oh, you know, he was this man. Listen, when somebody dies, there's no chance to repent. We in the repentance business. That's the business we in. We're not supposed to be, you know, taking any kind of pleasure in anybody's death, especially somebody of your own people. But the brother, you know, talked much about things involving death. And we got to be careful, because life and death is in the power of the tongue. And when you saying things like, you know, if you don't get married by your mid-30s or whatever, you're going to die alone. Like anytime you telling folks you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die, that's not good. Again, we're in the grace period. We should be trying to promote grace unto people, humility. Even the word says a soft answer turns away wrath. My Yeshai and I were talking about this same topic. and how the things that he say can rouse up women that have gone through things, that are subject of the same captivity that we're in. But you're delivering a message where you're, can really harm women's self-esteem and cause division in the household. So I'm not here to judge this brother, but what I can tell you is we have to be admonished by any of our brothers and sisters that are in the forefront and are not operating according to this word. Even the circumstances upon his death and who he was with and what he was doing, all those things taking effect. The Most High is sending his judgment out. So we want to, definitely be circumspect. We're becoming closer to becoming a nation. So as we become closer, that means the Father is coming closer. Mashiach is coming closer. That means there's going to be less room for error. Brother, do you wanted to add anything to the Kevin Samuel situation?
Well, I mean, I think you summed most of it up pretty well. I think he was trying to fill a glaring void in, I guess, our people and in our culture, because I think a lot of the things that he was saying, even though they were, harsh and lacking compassion, and I think part of that was for entertainment value
Shock
too,
value.
and just shock value rather. And but I think a lot of the things he was saying was at least an attempt to provide a kind of wisdom that our elders used to provide naturally, when our family was more intact, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You would have uncles and aunties and grandmas. You'd have a chorus of people that would pour into you this wisdom, and all of that's been broken up now. And so I think he was trying to fill that void in a sense. And
Right.
I do think he meant well, but at the same time, at the same time, it's like a lot of his advice was carnal.
Right.
And and I don't blame the brother. He's as far to my knowledge, he was not in the knowledge of the Most High, at least not from what I've observed.
Right.
But a lot of the stuff he did say was very carnal, and but I do think he tried, and I think that for us, we just have to try not to get so caught up in the things of this world and the advice of this world, because I think he's been a very captivating and polarizing figure, and I think a lot of people, a lot of Hebrews who are watching this stuff are kind of internalizing a lot of the things this guy is saying or has said, and that can be detrimental when our walk isn't worldly. You know what I'm saying? Our walk isn't of this world, and he's given a bunch of worldly advice essentially, and not saying that he was, some things he might have been on point with, but a lot of it was still very carnal, and I think that we have to be careful as people not to get caught up into that stuff, because it can be detrimental. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
And that was a great point, brother, because that is very dangerous. He touches on the premise of patriarchy, of order in the household, of being head of the home, but he's not dealing with the characteristics of leadership that the man has to do in his household, as far as if the wife is supposed to honor you as unto the Most High, then you got to have the rules of the Most High. And if you're not pushing that, and the rules you saying is, hey, I make a certain amount of money, or I'm well endowed, or whatever the case may be, that's very, very carnal. And that's kind of where a lot of the danger was done by the brother. I don't want to talk too much negativity about somebody that passed, because they can't defend themselves. But again, if you put your stuff in public, we have to address it. And when you're telling a man that, he's 30 years old, he's 5'10", 200 and something pounds, and he make $400 every 2 weeks, basically you ain't nothing, that's not a good message. Now, your elder might deliver that same message to you, like, brother, how you gonna look to get married? You're out of shape. You know, you're not bringing in enough money barely to take care of yourself. How are you gonna get a wife? Now, there's different ways that you can say that thing, but like you said, a lot of that is being said for shock value. But what we need to take away from that is we can't allow our emotions towards, patriarchy dictate who we're going to agree with and disagree with. So you, the Hebrew man, understand patriarchy is Yah's order, necessary, and the only way to rebuild the home. Can't say, well, I'm just going to support Kevin Samuels because he's supporting, pushing for the man to be the head, when the brother might be delivering a dangerous message. And vice versa. The woman that has issues, with her relationships with men in the past through, the faulty behavior of men or even mistakes that she's made, say, well, I'm going to dislike Yah's order and his patriarchy because of a man like Kevin Samuels who might take things too far. And like I said, I think we just need to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's kind of my opinion to that.
I agree. And I just wanted to add one more thing. But I remember seeing Brother Palayahu, Yashra, out in California. Shout out to Brother Palayahu. But he said one thing I remember seeing him say in regards to Kevin Samuels. He said something like, there's a lot of people out here, a lot of men out here, teaching, I guess, men how to hold women accountable, but there's no one out here teaching us how to love our women. You know what I'm saying? And that's when, where the scriptures really come in. And I think that's one of the detrimental things about his message was that, you point out these red flags and you're holding women accountable, but at the same time, there's a lot that goes into husbandry, as it were. So
absolutely,
that's something that's a message that you don't really see because it's more of a spiritual message. And I'm not sure. I think that might go over a lot of people's heads, but well, not spiritual people, but just, I think that's just not a message we see out there, and
right.
That's one of the detrimental things because, like I said, a lot of people can internalize these things and try to adapt that mindset to a Torah mindset, and it just doesn't match up. And I'm speaking from experience because I've watched a lot of people online and I've watched a lot of, even some of Kevin Samuel's stuff. And when I found myself acting out the things that I was listening to and pouring into my spirit and my mind, then I had to take a step back and say, is this really functional what I'm trying to do? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the detrimental things, but not just about Kevin Samuels, just in general about a lot of people going online and because anybody can get online and say whatever they want. And even if there's some truth to it, that doesn't necessarily mean it lines up with Torah, and it definitely doesn't mean it's functional.
Right. And Brother Brandon Pierce, Shabbat Shalom, Brother Brandon Pierce. Shabbat Shalom, Brother Corey D. Stoner. Good to see you, family. Shabbat Shalom to my big brother Yafi, Yehuda. Shabbat Shalom, Sif Stephanie Hicks, to you and your home. Shout out to Brother Lucas Cool as well. And Shabbat Shalom to my sister Yahanaya Yasharala. Good to see you all. Like I said, my brother Brandon Pierce said he told an ugly truth and spoke what a lot of successful men be thinking. His delivery was crazy, but at the end of the day, he spoke from his perspective, and 100 on that comment. And that's true. If you're a person who's making a certain amount of money as a man, and you are judging people based on superficial standards, then you got to play by that rule. So if you want this man that has all this money and he's superficial and he's gonna want to deal with, this young IG model woman, and then now you with your money want a man like that, but you're not in that box, it's obviously going to cause a conflict. But the problem with that is, why are we trying to value our husbands and wife based upon their physical appearance or how much money they make. That's the condition of this society. And that's a bigger issue that we're dealing with social media and the Instagram and Snapchat, carnal and superficial views. And then wonder why we can't stay together. Instead of focusing on the real husbandry. Let's just talk about the father and husband side, the real husbandry involved, the dwelling with your wife according to knowledge, not according to what benefits you or according to what's going to make her be nicer to you. And this is what the society is pushing. And then it says, or you can make a lot of money, then she can't say nothing because you giving her money, you paying for everything. That's wrong. So these are all things that we got to look at.
Well, I just wanted to add one thing, but as far as, with those carnal measures that you mentioned, that doesn't, those things only get you so far, because it doesn't hold up when adversity hits. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It just doesn't hold up. And I mean, if it's not built on a solid foundation, like the word is not going to build up, because the word teaches us, like, okay, for instance, the fruits of the spirit, right? It's like, how else are you going to bear those things if you're not put in difficult situations to press that that oil out of you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're for instance, if, like you mentioned, if you have so much money and you expect your woman to say nothing, well, you're just gonna get rid of her when you hit a difficult point, or she's being difficult. You know what I'm saying? And so those carnal measures will only get you so far, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And that's why you have a lot of people, that are wealthy on some of the most drugs, the most prescription drugs and antidepressants and everything, because once you paid for what you thought would give you happiness, you find out money cannot buy you happiness. Then what are you going to turn to? You only know money. You don't know to use the Most High. You only know money. So you're going to pay for a doctor or pay for some pills or pay for, like in the brother that just passed away. You Google and research who he was with and what he was doing. It's an indication of a lifestyle. Another important thing I want to go over before we start the class is another hot topic. And I do believe a lot of stuff is pushed in the press to take away our attention from other things. The Supreme Court basically is preparing to overturn Roe versus Wade ruling. So that's for abortion. The Roe versus Wade ruling in 1973 was a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, in which the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. So the Supreme Court made that landmark decision in 73, which allowed for abortion in states, where each state has to vote on what their restrictions regarding abortion is. So for the first time, a couple days ago, the Supreme Court actually gave their draft opinion on Roe versus Wade. They never provide a draft. They either just pass it and then you see it and this is what it is. They just rule. But for whatever reason, they made a draft. That's very interesting that you would just do that all of a sudden. It's almost like you trying to stir up protests or whatever the case may be. But either way, what this does is it now allows for states to add some more excessive restrictions regarding abortion. So who does that affect? This is going to hit people that are with less money. When you have money and your state has restrictive measures, guess what? I'll just fly to Mexico or I'll fly to another state. You'll get it done. But the poor people, the minorities, we can't afford all that. So now we have to really seriously think, do I really want to kill this child? you know, another day for the parents to find out that you got pregnant, or another day for, you know, the Most High to visit you in a dream, or visit your husband in a dream or something to make it a little bit harder. So that's going to actually benefit our people. So whereas they're making it to make it easier, and this is what I suspect, they're trying to make it easier, you know, for, I guess, rich people to do what they want to do, but then the poor people can't do it because they can't afford to move to different states. It's actually helping us. So what I want to do is I want to look at some statistics regarding abortion. So I'm going to pull it up, and we're going to just see abortions by state and race. Let me share this. This is on CBS. CBS Miami. Let's share these stats. All right, so this is reported legal abortions. So this is just what's reported legally by race of women who obtained abortion by the state of occurrence. Let me see, is this shared? All right, so if we look at some of these statistics, so in Georgia, 21%, this thing doesn't look like it's sharing. Hold on, let me see, try to share this again. There we go. All right, so in Georgia, 21% of the abortions, the legal reported abortions, were white people. 65% of the abortions were Black. And only 9% were Hispanic. So when you look at that number of 65% Black and 9% Hispanic, you have a percentage of these Hispanic people, which are descendants of slaves. They just grew up in Spanish territories that think they're Hispanic. So that 65% in Georgia is a lot larger than what it is. So when you make abortions difficult for Georgians, you're affecting 65% of the case in Georgia, which could possibly reduce that number. So that's saving a lot of lives right there, just by this change. You look in United States, the total average, 33% of the reported legal abortions were white people, 38% were Black, 7% were other, and 21% were Hispanic. So just looking at these numbers, you see clearly there's a Alabama, 62% Black, 30% white. Some of these states, it's overwhelming how much more Black people are having abortions than white. You see District of Columbia, there's another Black city, 53%. 53% were Black, 19% white. So Indiana is the only state that I see here, and Idaho, states that are not typically a lot of Black people, where 52% were white, 32% were Black. It was actually a higher percentage for Caucasians. So I don't know if this was their intention, but it's working to our benefit. It's saving our children just by making these changes. Now I'm gonna pull up another statistic. This one is going to be the map of the states and what their laws are. Let me find that. And this is the one that's on NBC Miami. All right, so this is an interactive map that we're going to look at, showing you what states allow what and how long they allow you to go to have an abortion. All right, so again, this is on NBC, South Florida. You see all these states here, and then there's the colors. All these states here, Oklahoma and Texas only allows abortions, is legal after 6 weeks. So you can go up to 6 weeks. It's illegal after 6 weeks, excuse me. So after 6 weeks, you cannot have an abortion. So you have 6 weeks of pregnancy in Oklahoma and Texas. Now this next graphic here of all the lighted up ones is 20 weeks. So you got like North Dakota, Nebraska, Louisiana, Arkansas, Ohio, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. All of those after 20 weeks, it's illegal to have abortions. So those first two are the hardest ones to have abortions in, the first 6 weeks and 20 weeks, those places. So those states where Black people reside in those states, it's harder for them to get abortions. Then the next one is 24 weeks. You got Nevada, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts allows you about 24 weeks. So that's what, that's about 6 months. You're able to get abortion. You telling me 6 months you can get an abortion? Crazy. Then you have some that are allowing you, like Virginia, all the way into the 3rd trimester. Then you have places like New Jersey that allows you to have abortion all the way up until the before the child is born. So again, that's just to talk a little bit about the topic, but we're going to go through two scriptures just to show you why this is important. Looking at what's happening right now, why are they talking about this abortion bill? You didn't pass it, you didn't do anything, but you want to let us know in advance right around their so-called Mother's Day. Interesting. Let's bring up abortion around Mother's Day. So what about our women that have been in situations where they may have involuntarily had an abortion or were scared and had an abortion when they were young or raped or what? Now you're bringing this up right around Mother's Day. Mother's Day is bad enough to begin with, but now you're bringing this up. So there's strategy behind the things that they're doing. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. We're going to read a few verses here. Devarim, Deuteronomy 28. We're going to read verses 54 through 61. And let me pull up the scripts. And you know, it's a tough topic to talk about, abortion, because it's affected so many of us. You know, we've either have sisters or had girlfriends or family members or have brothers that have had, you know, enforced abortions. And this is stuff that affects us. And each one of us could have been an abortion, especially some of us that were born outside of the best conditions. But we're here. So Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 28, we're going to read verses 54 through 61.
Okay. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
So these are the curses that will come on the children of Israel. It didn't say that might, that will come on to the children of Israel because we turned down his covenant. We turned down his laws. We thought we were right in our own eyes. We leaned into our own understanding. And this is the punishment that we fell into. It's talking about the tender man, the noble man that's very delicate. He's going to have an evil eye toward his brother, hate his brother for no cause, hate his wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So if this is a remnant of his children, where are the rest of his children? We're going to go to the next verse and get in that, because it's talking about the remnant of his children. And those that are actually remaining, he going to leave those. So look at our society right now. This is plaguing our community. Now, why you leave? Does it matter if you leave if you were killed? Does it matter if you leave because the mother took off and took her kids away from you and you moved to another state? Does it matter if you leave because you went to jail? Does it matter to leave because you didn't even know this was your child? At the end of the day, there's a child that grows up without a father. So these are the curses that we are suffering right now. Next verse.
So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left in him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith your enemies shall distress you in all your gates.
All right, so here you have, this is what happened to the remnant of the other children that's not part of the remnant left. He ate those children. We know we ain't supposed to eat people. That's a carnal sin. But much even worse than that is eating your own children. So it will get so bad that when you get so hungry that you would turn around and eat your children. Now, your children, either you killed them to eat them or they died of starvation. How's that child dying of starvation? That father supposed to be feeding that child. And it says, never in my days have I ever seen the children of the righteous begging for bread. So this just shows you when those who are not keeping the law, that are not in covenant with the Most High, when it gets bad, they will sacrifice their own children, whether you're sacrificing them to eat or whether you're sacrificing them to an abortion, because it's a rough time. Those are the curses. And this is the man doing this. Verse 56.
The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that comes out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith your enemy shall distress you in your gates.
Wow. So even the virtuous woman, the tender and delicate woman, again, if she is not committed to the righteousness of the Most High, when it gets bad enough and she gets hungry enough, she will have hatred towards her own children, her own sons, her own daughters, her own husband, even the baby that comes out of her. So this is the type of hatred that we're having from the fathers and the mothers in this day and age with abortion, where you hate your child so much, or you're so desperate that you would kill your child. Now, we're not talking about the children, teenagers, and young people, which it's not right for them either, but we can understand how somebody could be, a child can be afraid of their parents, afraid of their teenage boyfriend, or were raped by an uncle or stepfather. We can understand those situations makes it difficult. But when it's simply because things are rough, because I don't have money, because I don't have a lot of food to feed people, rather than putting my trust in the Father and keeping his laws, I'm willing to sacrifice my own children. And that's what abortion all comes down to. Now, the argument that they will make is that, oh, this This child ain't alive. It's just a clump of cells. We'll see what the Most High says about that. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1. Jeremiah chapter 1. And then after this, we'll go into the class. And we're just going to read verses 4 and 5. So the claim that they make is that a child is not a person. He's not life yet. And it's the mother's choice to take that life away.
Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 4. Then the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. And before you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet unto the nations.
Okay, so this is the word of Yah. He said, before I even formed you in the belly. That means before you were even formed in the belly, that the life comes from that sperm. So when you're just a sperm, I know you. And before you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified you. So before you even came out the womb, I made you holy and ordained you a prophet unto the nations. So that means, according to the Most High, you already a life. He's already accounted for you. He's already made a choice for you. So you can't take that and say, oh, it ain't a life. If the Most High is already giving you a job, he's already knowing you. The Most High gives life. So it's not for us to take that away. Now, ultimately, whether or not that child is aborted or whether that child lives, that's Yah. Yah either allows it or he doesn't. But that's no different than whether you go walk in the street and die tomorrow. Yah allows it or he doesn't. That don't mean you go out there and play Russian roulette or you go try to kill yourself and say, well, if I die, then it's Yah's will. If I die. No, we don't do those things. So according to this word and many other places we can go to, that's a life inside that woman. The Most High chooses that.
Verse 6.
So that's all I wanted to,
okay.
all I wanted to cover on that right there. So again, I know that these are tough subjects to talk about. You know, it's not the nicest thing to hear about because it's affected many of us, including me, including my own self. But at the end of the day, these are the topics that we have to discuss. This is our children. I got teenage daughters. You know, I have discussions with my daughters about these things, you know, being open, making sure that I'm active with them so that they know, hey, look, you're not out here by yourself. You don't have to make these hard decisions by yourself. You have a father that will support you. So we got to talk to our children. We got to talk to our spouses, our mates. And we always talk about abortion from the side of the woman's side. But Brother Cassette and I were talking earlier. What about the man's side? What are you doing? Are you being upfront with the woman that you're dealing with about your thoughts of whether you want children or don't want children or using protection? Are you whoremongering as a man, just sleeping with women that's not your wife? The woman don't even know you. Now all of a sudden she gets pregnant and she's scared. So the father has an active role in this as well. So this is a two sex discussion. This ain't just a discussion on the woman and what she does. How are you supporting that woman? Are you letting that woman know that you are going to be there for that child and removing fear and uncertainty or doubt? Because first-time pregnancy is a scary thing for a lot of people, even for married people. So these are the discussions that we have to have. So let's pray on these things. Let's talk about it in our families and let's try to maintain what we're supposed to be doing in righteousness. So let's get into the class. So the topic is grace for humility. Let's go to Hebrews, Abarim, chapter 2. Hebrews, chapter 2. You know, this topic going to ruffle some feathers, but You know, these are things that affect our community, and we got to discuss these things. Husbands, dwell with your wives according to knowledge. Hebrews chapter 2, let's start this at verse 1.
Therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip. For if the word spoken by angels was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which at the first began to be spoken by the Master, and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him? Elohim also bearing them witness, both with signs and wonders, and with diverse miracles, and gifts of the Holy Spirit, according to his own will. For unto the angels has he not put in subjection the world to come whereof we speak. But one in a certain place testified, saying, what is a man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you visit him? You made him a little lower than the angels, you crowned him with glory and honor, and did set him over the works of your hands. You have put all things in subjection under his feet. For in that he put all in subjection under him, he left nothing that is not put under him. But now we see not yet all things put under him. But we see Yahushua, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he by the grace of Elohim should taste death for every man.
So verse 9, we see Yahushua, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death. So Yahushua was in heaven. He was the firstborn spirit, the word. And he was brought down into flesh, which is below the angels, and so that he could suffer death. So in his death, he tasted death for every man so that we could be under the grace period for the law of sin and death. No, what man has done that for us? Nobody here. When we die, we're going to die for our own sins. We're not dying for anybody else's sins. So that's a certain humility that's supposed to come over us, that no matter how much work you think you do, or how good of a person you are, a man died for you. So that should promote humility amongst us. Tomshi? You there, brother?
Oh, my bad. I forgot to unmute. Verse 10 in Hebrews chapter 2. For it became him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. For both he that sanctifies and they who are sanctified are all of one, for which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying, I will declare your name unto my brethren, in the midst of the assembly will I sing praise unto you. And again, I will put my trust in him, and again, behold, I and the children which Elohim has given me. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. For verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham.
So he came in humility. You're talking about a God, king, high priest, the physical creator of all. Through YAH. Coming down here and not taking the nature of the messengers, where, you know, people are fearing you. As soon as you walk up there, an angel came, people thought they was dying. But instead he came in the image of the seed of Abraham. Humility. So if a man of that power, life himself, the word, can humble himself to do his job, who are we? Why can't we humble ourselves and offer grace to those that might be weaker in certain areas than us. Verse 17.
Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to Elohim, to make reconciliations for the sins of the people.
Because he going through the same things we went through. That's why he had to come in the flesh. So people can't say, well, you know, you an angel. Of course, you could not look at this woman. Of course, you could not kill this brother because you're strong. You know you're stronger than him. Nah, he humbled himself. He offered grace. And that's why he could be a high priest in the flesh.
Verse 18. For in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to succor them that are tempted.
Amen. He can secure us that are being tempted. So we're being tempted. We're going through the things. We can think humbly, look how this man who is greater than I'll ever be, my head, was able to overcome these things through humility. These are the thoughts supposed to come into our head when anger is swelling in us and we really want to give somebody a piece of our mind, and you know, we're upset. We felt that we've been wronged or disrespected. Where's that humility? That humility goes out the window because we're mad. How dare you do that to me? How dare you hurt my feelings? And it gets to the point with people where it doesn't matter whether you are right or wrong, just the fact that you hurt their feelings. Well, the truth hurts. We didn't make that up. It hurts everybody. It hurts me. It hurts you. It hurts everybody. But what are you going to, so does working out. So does studying. So does doing things that require you to be tired out. Let's move on. Let's go to Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12.
We're starting this at verse 1?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Romans 12 and 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim.
All right, so by the mercies of YAH, present your body a living sacrifice. So you're not going to take a lamb with a bunch of black eyes and scars and he's emaciated and sacrifice that unto YAH and be like, here, YAH, this is for you. I dedicate this to you. You wouldn't even think about doing that. You know that's not going to be accepted. That's a Canaan or a Cain-like offering. Whatever. I'm just going to give you whatever. He only accepts our best. So in doing that and being a living sacrifice, we can't be conformed to this world. We got to renew our minds, renew our hearts. So that means, yeah, my mind automatically thinks this way when somebody makes me feel uncomfortable or makes me look at my flaws. I automatically feel this way, but I got to renew my mind and say, you know, I got to remove the emotion out of it, remove the person that's talking to me out of it, and hear YAH's words, if YAH's words are being given, and take that and say, is this the will of the Father, what is being communicated to me? Or are we going to constantly trust our emotion and how we feel about something, which we know has been shaped by this captivity? And in doing so, by trusting his word and renewing our minds, which was shaped in Babylon, now we can prove what's good and acceptable and the perfect will of YAH, because he will co-sign that. He's not going to co-sign our BS. Verse 3.
Verse 3. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as Elohim has dealt to every man the measure of faith.
Amen. Not to think of yourself higher than you ought to think. And, of course, don't think you all that. You ain't all that. We understand the basic of that. But when you start to think that you in your mind has a better understanding of right and wrong than Yah's instruction, that's when you're thinking you are more highly of yourself. When you don't care what his clear instructions are, you feel differently. You feel you can interpret it differently than what Yah is saying in plain English. And we're not talking about doctrine disputes, this, that. No, flat out, you got to do this. Do not do that. You can eat this. You can't eat this. But then you decide, I'm smarter than the word. I think we ain't supposed to eat meat because I think the whole word is lying. They changed it just because I feel it in my heart. No, change the way you think. Where's the antiquity of this? Where's the writings for this? Where's the examples of this? If I got to look to a man who walked the earth like me, who just said, who originated, hey, forget what it says in the book. No, I'm not listening to him. Verse 4.
For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Hamashiach, and everyone member is one of another.
So everybody has their place. Nobody's in the same office. Don't think of yourself higher than you ought to think. You are not the head. When you are saying, this is what you're supposed to do over what the word is saying, you are making yourself the head. You are making yourself the most high, essentially, because you're saying, I'm higher than what I really am. Listen to me. Don't listen to the word. Now, whether you're teaching people to do that or you're living that yourself, that's what you're doing. And the Most High offers us so much grace, he won't kill us right away. But just as in everybody that passed already, that grace period eventually runs out.
Verse 6. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorts on exhortation, he that gives, let him do it with simplicity, he that rules with diligence, he that shows mercy with cheerfulness.
All right, so what difference does it make if you showing mercy to somebody, but then you making their life a hell? No, that's not mercy. Verse 9.
Let love be without dissimulation.
Let's look at that word, dissimulation. Say, what verse was that? 9. Let love, so agape, that is affection or benevolence, charity. And the word for without dissimulation is G505. And nupokritos from G1 as a negative participle and presumed derivative of undissembled, that is sincere, without hypocrisy. So it's saying love without hypocrisy. So it's hypocrisy, you saying you love somebody, but then you doing the opposite of love to them. Finish that verse.
Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the master, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not.
Now, this is not your mind. Your mind don't operate like this. This is the renewing of the mind. Loving without hypocrisy, hating evil. No, we only hate evil when somebody else is evil towards us. We don't hate the evil when it's in us, because we'll give you an excuse for our evil and say, I was evil because you did this. Then you don't hate evil. Cleave to that which is good. Kindly affectionate to another with brotherly love. Treating your brother like he actually your brother, like he you. Preferring one another. Rejoicing in hope. Patient in tribulation. That's one thing we deal a lot with in this country. Tribulation. So we got to learn to be patient in these times of tribulation. That's not natural. When you in pain and you got something stuck in you, you're like, get it out. I got this thorn in me. Get it out. Get it out. You're not being patient. You're trying to get out as fast as possible. What if that thing stuck in you is stopping you from bleeding to death? Maybe you need to stop for a second and say, you know what? If I pull this thing impaled in me, it might be, it's right there by my femoral artery. This is the one thing that's causing me not to bleed out. Let me be patient to make it to the hospital or whatever the case may be. Let me pray about this. These are the renewing of the mind. And in doing these things, it's going to keep you humble. And when you're walking in that state of humility, the rest of the class is going to show you grace is coming your way. Tamshi?
Verse 15. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits.
All right, so being of the same oneness, same mind towards each other. Mind not the high things. If you are the high thing, you are the head, you are the leader, you are the owner, or whatever the case is, don't mind all those high things that offend you. Condescend to the men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceit. So we always putting a mind towards the things that are highest to us, which means the things that deal with us. What about your brother? Understand how they feel. How does this make them feel? How does this affect their household? Pay attention to that. This will make you more humble and offer more grace to people in situations.
Verse 18.
17.
Oh, okay. Recompense no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men.
If it be possible. Sometimes it's not possible. So then you got to move. Verse 19.
Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yahweh.
Okay, so that's a tough one right there. Maisha and I were talking about that the other night, about how vengeance belongs to Yah. You know, sometimes there's certain things that can be done to a man's family that he's like, I don't care about none of this. I'm going to go deal with somebody. And the Most High understands the heart of man. And that's why he created like cities of refuge and law and judgment to help protect the man that is just gone insane from just pain, from losing loved ones. So we got to consider that. Avenge not yourselves. When you go out there and you avenge yourself, you have thought of yourself more highly than you ought to think, because vengeance belongs to who? Who does
Verse.
vengeance belong to?
Oh, yeah.
Amen. Verse 20.
Therefore, if your enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
All right. So, somebody hate you or got beef with you or want to be a jerk towards you, kill them with kindness. They will get angry. They will get even more angry. But then eventually, if you are still operating, you're showing them, they're looking at, look, this person is behaving themselves honorably and valiantly, and I'm sitting here acting a fool. They have no choice but to look at themselves because they're going to see the contrast. That's how you overcome evil with good. You don't overcome evil by giving more evil. That's the devil philosophy. Fight fire with fire. No, you fight fire with water or foam. You don't spray it with more fire. But again, that's what it feels like in the flesh, in the body. Yeah, that'll good. Yeah, you being a jerk, I'm going to be a jerk too. That's the right thing to do. No, that's what your flesh feels. Let's go to Proverbs 138.
Proverbs 138.
Mm-hmm. Mishle.
You mean Psalms?
Yeah, I must have meant Psalms. Because Proverbs don't go there. I got that new book.
Right.
Psalms. Tehillim 138.
I will praise you with my whole heart. Before the mighty ones will I sing praise unto you. I will worship toward your holy temple and praise your name for your loving kindness and for your truth. For you have magnified your word above all your name.
So he magnified his word, Yahweh Shai, above all his character. His name, I am that I am, whatever that is, I'm that. I exist. Whatever exists is me. So everything that exists, he magnified Yahweh Shai above all.
In the day when I cried, you answered me and strengthened me with strength in my soul. All the kings of the earth shall praise you, O Yahweh, for when they hear the words of your mouth, yea, they shall sing in the ways of Yah, for great is the glory of Yahweh. Though Yah be high, yet has he respect unto the lowly, but the proud he knows afar off.
All right. So even though Yah is the most high, the highest up, yet he has respect unto the lowly. So if we are children of the Most High, and we're the highest of his nations, we were chosen to be his set apart, his sanctified, then we should have respect unto the lowly. We should have respect unto the Gentile and respect unto our own brothers and sisters that don't have the knowledge of this word that might be showing they behind. Have respect. Don't fight fire with fire. Overcome evil with good.
Verse 7, though I walk in the midst of trouble, you will revive me. Though you stretch forth your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand shall save me. Yahweh will perfect that which concerns me. Your mercy, O Yahweh, endures forever. Forsake not the works of your own hands.
All right, so his mercy endures forever. So if we remain in humility, then we will receive that grace and mercy. But the key is humility, because at the end of the day, what difference does it make whether you're a foot or a finger? You're not the head. You're not making decisions. You're a part of the body. Let's go to Psalms chapter 9. Psalms, Tehillim chapter 9. It's very difficult for us in a land of captivity where all of us have been humbled, all the way to Oprah Winfrey, be a billionaire, it don't matter. Kanye West, a billionaire, wife embarrassed him in public. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all suffering from this oppression. And in that oppression, when we have an opportunity to try to lift ourselves up and stand up tall, a lot of times we overcompensate and we have a proud spirit. And that causes a problem. It makes it very difficult for us to stay humble because we're trying to fight. Everybody has been humbled in a lowly state. So we're trying to fight that. Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 9. All right, we're having some technical difficulties coming out the Netherlands, so I'm going to go ahead and continue for a quick second. So we're at Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 9, in verse 1. I will praise you, O Yahweh, with my whole heart. I will show forth all your marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice in you. I will sing praise to your name, O you Most High. When my enemies are turned back, they shall fall and perish at your presence. For you have maintained my right and my cause. You sat in a throne judging right. You has rebuked the heathen. You has destroyed the wicked. You has put out their name forever and ever. O you enemy, destructions are come to a perpetual end, and you have destroyed cities. The memorial is perished with them. But Yahweh shall endure forever. He hath prepared his throne for judgment, and he shall judge the world in righteousness. He shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness. Yah also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And they that know your name, know your character, will put their trust in you. For you, Yahweh, has not forsaken them that seek you. Sing praises to Yahweh, which dwell in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. Salakia. Bear with me 1 second, brothers and sisters. All right, Psalms Tehillim, chapter 9. And repeat verse 10 again. And they that know your name, your character, will put their trust in you. For Yahweh has not forsaken them that seek you. Sing praises to Yahweh, which would dwell in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. When he makes inquisition for blood, he remembers them. He forgets not the cry of the humble. So this is why you need to stay in, or not you, but we need to stay in humility, because he hears the cry of the humble. You being humble doesn't mean you're humble only when you're right. You can also be humble when you're wrong. When you mess up, because you're gonna mess up, and you deal with him and you cry out to him in humility, he will hear you. And when he hears you, he offers you that grace. Verse 13, have mercy upon me, O Yahweh, consider my trouble which I suffer of them that hate me. You that lift me up from the gates of death, that I might show forth all your praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice in your salvation. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made, and the net which they hid is their own foot taken. Yahweh is known by the judgment which he executes. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higayon Selah. All right, so we're going to stop right there. So the wicked are sunk in their own pits that they made. So we have to stay from wickedness. And sometimes when we're confused, we can operate in wickedness. That's when we have to have humility and offer grace to people in those situations so that we don't get caught in that. All right, Brother West, you back?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's move on. We're going to go to YAH chapter 57. And what we just read is that Yah does not forget the cry of the humble. So you being humble is not dictated by whether you right or wrong. When you're right, you need to be humble. That don't mean I'm right. So I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind because I'm right. Or I think I'm right. Every man is right in his own eyes. But those that are keeping the righteous commandments are righteous. That's a difference. Difference between being right and righteous. You can be correct. That don't mean that you're righteous or you're right. YAH chapter 57. Isaiah or Yeshayahu chapter 57. And we'll start that at verse 1.
The righteous perish, and no man lays it to heart. And merciful men are taken away, none considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come.
So just like the brother that passed, you know, sometimes when people pass, we think like, oh no, this is a bad thing. But sometimes some people are taken away so that they don't have to go through the evil that is about to come. They had their time to fulfill what they needed to fulfill.
He shall enter into peace. They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness. But draw near here, you sons of the sorceress, the seed of the adulterer and the whore. Against whom do you sport yourselves? Against whom make you a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are you not the children of transgression, a seed of falsehood?
Okay, so are not we the children of transgression? Is that not why we are here right now? Because of the transgressions of our forefathers? A seed of falsehood? But yet we want to think of ourselves better than what we are. That situation right there is supposed to keep us humble. Because yeah, I am a child of transgression and all that type of stuff, a seed of falsehood. But at the same time, I'm repentant. The Most High gave me grace. He gave me mercy and allowed me to learn and to change. So I got to offer that. If I appreciate that, I got to offer that grace and humility unto the flock, especially in your households. Tomshi?
Verse 5. Inflaming yourselves with idols under every green tree, slaying the children in the valleys under the cliffs of the rocks. Among the smooth stones of the stream is your portion. They are your lot. Even to them that you have poured a drink offering, you have offered a meat offering. Should I receive comfort in these? Upon a lofty and high mountain have you set your bed. Even there went you up to offer sacrifice. Behind the doors also and the posts have you set up your remembrance, for you have discovered yourself to another than me, and are gone up. You have enlarged your bed and made you a covenant with them. You loved their bed where you saw it. And you went to the king with ointment and did increase your perfumes, and did send your messengers far off, and did debase yourself even unto the grave. You are wearied in the greatness of your way, yet said you not, there is no hope. you have found the life of your hand, therefore you were not grieved. And of whom have you been afraid or feared? That you have lied and have not remembered me, nor laid it to your heart. Have not I held my peace even of old, and you feared me not? I will declare your righteousness and your works, for they shall not profit you. When you cried, let your companies deliver you, but the wind shall carry them all away. Vanity shall take them, but he that puts his trust in me shall possess the land and shall inherit my holy mountain.
So don't think of yourself greater than what you are. Just because you've amassed a following or you've amassed money or you've amassed attention, you can be taken out just like anybody else. And we let social media fool us. We think because you got all these people following you, you got all these people that like you or hate you, that that's what's going to determine your state. It's not. That's why we got to stay humble. Verse 14.
And shall say, cast you up, prepare the way, take up the stumbling block out of the way of my people. For thus says the high and lofty one that inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones.
And this is where we want to be. Thus says the high and lofty one that inhabits eternity, whose character is set apart, Kodesh, holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also of a contrite, which means you're sorry for your mistakes, and a humble spirit, which is a honest view of yourself, that I'm not greater than what I am. That's what makes you humble. And he will revive the spirit of the humble. And this is why the humble always seem to keep going, always seem to keep moving. Nothing seems to trouble them. And people will take that and consider that pride because you're not broken over things. YAH is going to revive that spirit. I don't care how tough you think you are. When your spirit is broken, your spirit is broken. Only YAH can revive that one. And people with broken spirits, instead of being more able-like and asking, hey, you know, how do you keep yourself up during these times? Why are you still able to navigate? Now we get angry and we attack those that are having that contrite and humble spirit. That's the flesh. Misery likes company. That's the way the uniform was designed. So we can't take it personal. If this is the way the uniform was designed, then we got to renew our minds. Verse 16.
For I will not contend forever, neither will I be always wroth, for the spirit should fail before me, and the souls which I have made. For the iniquity of his covetousness was I wroth, and smote him. I hid him, and was wroth, and he went on frowardly in the way of his heart. I've seen his ways, and will heal him. I will lead him also, and restore comforts unto him and to his mourners. I create the fruit of the lips, peace, peace to him that is far off, and to him that is near, says Yahweh, I will heal him. But the wicked are like the troubled sea, when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There's no peace, says my Elohim.
The wicked are like a troubled sea. There's no peace. They can't rest. They always going to and fro. They can't pick a side. Back and forth, back and forth. This is what the parable is saying. So we have to pick a stance. And if that stance is righteousness, then we have to say, all right, righteousness requires me to be humble, requires me to be graceful to individuals. And we got to stick to that, or else we're going to be like the sea, because every spirit, every unclean spirit that passed through, every demon that comes through here, he can use us because we refuse to stay under the humility of this word, the humility of saying, I'm going to let YAH's instruction decide how I'm going to handle things, not my flesh, not my feelings, not my experience, not this world. And That's not what the world is promoting. We not seeing rich people walking around like this. Finish it up. Out.
Verse 21. There's no peace, says my Elohim, to the wicked. There's
no peace to the wicked. They cannot have no shalom. You tell them shalom, they ain't got no shalom. You know, you argue with them, they mad. You don't argue with them, they mad. You know, people deal with them, they mad. People support them, they mad. There's no peace with the wicked. And all of us were wicked. We had no peace. But at least we turn into righteousness and looking at it and saying, hey, I'm trying to root up out that wickedness. But we can't be partial in that. We can't say I'm only going to root out the wickedness that makes me look good in front of people or makes me feel good about myself. We have to be humble and say that I know I wasn't designed this way, or else everybody would be doing it. Let's move on. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23, Matthew chapter 23. Yahweh Shai gives us instruction on how to be humble and the reward that we receive for that. Matthew chapter 23, and we're going to read 1 through 12.
Then spake Yahweh Shai to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moshe's seat.
All right.
All
so
therefore,
the scribes, which penned the law, and the Pharisees, which were like the governing body, they sit in Moshe's seat. What is Moshe's seat? Let's see if any of the viewers want to answer this. What is Moshe's seat? Can anybody tell me what Moshe's seat is? We need to understand what Moshe's seat is. All right, don't look like we had anybody who wants to take a stab at this one. Brother, what is Moshe's seat?
It would be his authority, right?
And what's his authority? So we have holy witness, that's part of it. But what specifically, what was his calling?
He was to lead the people.
Right? What did he give?
Oh, yeah. He gave the commandments.
The law. He was the lawgiver. This is why he was like a God unto these people, because he was the lawgiver. So the scribes and the Pharisees, the scribes physically write down the law, and the Pharisees speak and enforce that law. Verse 3.
All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe.
All right.
That observe.
So it's saying the scribes and Pharisees, they are the lawgivers. Whatever they bid you observe. Why are we supposed to be observing what they're telling us to do? Because they're perfect? Because they're great people? Because they're the highest ranking people? Why are we supposed to do what they bid us to do? Because it's the law. They're the lawgivers. They're giving us what the law is. So it don't matter who they are or what they say. It's what the law say. So if they're giving you the law, observe that and do. But it says, but do you not after their works, for they say and do not. So it doesn't matter whether or not they're doing it or not. That's just an excuse for the flesh to do what it wants to do. Because the instruction came from the Father. The authority ain't from the scribe or the Pharisees. The authority is from the Father. So you have to humble yourself. You're humbling yourself to the Father by allowing people that he chose, that he allowed to be in a position to talk to you about this law. And make sure that you follow what YAH said that they're telling you to do. But not as they do, because they're not doing it. So does that mean because they're not doing it, you don't do it? So now you following the scribes and Pharisees. The scribes and Pharisees, they now your God. Because they're not doing it. So you saying, well, since the scribes and Pharisees ain't doing it, I ain't going to do it then. So they your God. Verse 4.
For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Okay, so here's where the grace comes in. You humbled yourself to those that were ahead of you, that were in the word, your elders, your captains of tens, hundreds of thousands, whatever. They're telling you things in the law, some of it's right, some of it's wrong, but you're doing your best. You're humbling yourself to YAH's law, acknowledging that, these brothers have been doing it before me longer, that they have a better understanding. I'm trying to observe what they're bidding me to do. And guess what? Maybe you're misled a little bit because nobody knows it all. But where do you fall? You fall into grace because you approach this word in humility. You allowed somebody to teach you. You allowed a word that was written thousands of years ago to dictate your decision making. You fall in grace. But if you're not humble and you break the commandments the same way that the scribes and Pharisees are breaking the commandments, you may not get that mercy. You might fall into judgment, and the judgment might be mercy for you. But it's different. Everything is different once you're applying that humility. It's not necessarily whether you're right or wrong. It's about being righteous in his eyes, not in your own eyes. Because one state might tell you, New Jersey say you can kill your child all the way up to birth. Well, that's right, but is that righteous? Humble yourself to his word. It don't matter who told you or how you feel about it. Humble yourself, because guess what? At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, every knee is going to bow and every tongue is going to confess. Tamshi?
Verse 5. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not you called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Hamashiach, and all you are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven.
All right, so we think, here's the false humility. We think that, I'm part of this Hebrew assembly and the elder, he's like a father to me. So I'm going to call him my spiritual father. That's humility. No, it's not. That's transgression. You ain't supposed to call nobody and put nobody in a position of YAH. We talking about not your dad. We talking about you making somebody your spiritual father. YAH is your spiritual father. That's the real Father's Day. The real Father's Day is today, Shabbat. But when you say, I'm going to humble to this man, you're doing that to be accepted. You're doing that to feel part of something. That's not humility. That's a false humility, because YAH told you, You shall have no other mighty one before me. And Yah gave you a father. He gave you a physical father. You don't select that and say, well, I'm going to make him my spiritual father. Your spiritual father is Yah, so you calling him Yah. Tomshi?
Verse 9, and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your father, which is in heaven. Neither be called you masters, for one is your master, even Hamashiach. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whomsoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up.
We're going to stop at verse 12. So the greatest among you shall be your servant. In other words, whichever one is considered the greatest, he's supposed to be doing the most work. He's the greatest. He got the greatest responsibility. Everybody else done, he's still working. Everybody asleep, he's still up. That's the greatest among you. If that's not what the situation is, that ain't the greatest among you. Whoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, because you thought of yourself greater than what you are. So he gonna put you in your place, because you gonna be where you supposed to be. If you supposed to be head captain of tens, hundreds of thousands, that's what you're gonna be. Look at Jephthah and Judges. This brother, his own family casted him out because his mother was of another nation. But that's not the choice that Yah had for him. Yah said, no, you're going to be captains of tens, hundreds of thousands. So a situation arose and the elders came and begged him to come fight for them. And he said, I'll come back if I get to be your leader. Yah put him right back where he need to be. He didn't make them come to him. Yah made that situation awry.
Slakia.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add a scripture that came to mind that goes along with and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. It's in Sirach chapter 1 and verse 30. It says, exalt not yourself, lest you fall and bring dishonor upon your soul. And so Elohim discover your secrets and cast you down in the midst of the assembly, because you came not in truth to the fear of Yahweh, but your heart is full of deceit.
And these are instructions for the children of Israel that are coming out of captivity to learn how to return back to our culture. So exalt not yourself. We in captivity. What you exalting yourself for? You head slave? Come on, that's that house Negro thing. You want to exalt yourself above your brother. You got to work with your brother to tend to this garden. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18, and then we have one more for the conclusion. Matthew chapter 18. All right, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14.
At the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Yahushua called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven.
All right, so he's talking about the kingdom of Yah that's different from the kingdom of heaven. Kingdom of heaven is dealing with children. Because if you 100 years old and you in the kingdom of heaven, or the sabbatical kingdom, which is 1,000 years, you still a baby at 100 years old. Sin causes death. So we must be converted as these little children. These little children are humble. Until they are taught disobedience or allowed disobedience, they listen. So we have to be humble and not long memoried and remembering everything that everybody said and every wrong that was done to us. A child don't do that. You whoop your child 10 minutes later, he come back to you crying and apologizing. He forgot that he was just in the corner wishing you was dead and I hate you and all. He forgot that. But adults, nah. We hold on to everything except for the things we do. Verse 4.
Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
Because they in the kingdom of heaven. Said that you got to become as these little children to be in the kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receives me.
So who receives one of these people that are humbling themselves, not because they got money, not because that's your blood brother or your coworker. No, just because the name of Yahweh Shai. Yah is my salvation. Because of that, I'm going to receive him. Tamshi?
But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea.
Amen. So who shall offend one of these little ones? See, we like to take that word offend. You said something I didn't like. That's offensive. Nah, that's not what offend means. To cause to stumble. If I give you the truth in simplicity, in milk, and you trip over that, that's on you. But if I give you meat and try to stuff meat down a baby's mouth and he chokes and stumbles on that, that's on you. You caused that little one to stumble. Or when you got to deliver a tough message to somebody, you have to do it. Especially husbands, you got to dwell with your wives according to knowledge. Especially fathers, you got to dwell with your children with a stern hand. And you talking to them in a disrespectful manner, belittling them, all that, you causing them to stumble, not the word. Let them stumble on the word. Now that's between them and Yah. But if they stumbling on your delivery, yeah, they still going to get recompense for their part. But now you getting recompense for your part. Humility, a soft answer turns away wrath. Just like with the brother that just passed away. When he was able to softly deliver some of his messages, they hit a little bit better. Probably helped a lot of people. But when you come in that pride and, you ain't this and you ain't that and this is why you ain't, what you think it's going to cause? It's going to cause people to stumble to the point where people are celebrating a man's death who ain't killed nobody. Tamshi?
Verse 7. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe unto the man by whom the offense comes.
All right, so these offenses have to happen. But hey, woe to that man that offense is coming by. But it says a just man falls 7 times, but he rises back up. So these falls help you. You need to be humble. Sometimes it's for humility. It says pride comes before a great fall. So being humble is actually a good thing for you. But just because you offended somebody and caused them to become more humble doesn't mean that justifies you being offensive to somebody or causing them to stumble because it worked out in their benefit. It worked out in our benefit that Esau tried to kill us. But he already said, hey, this is what's going to happen. And Obadiah. Tamshi?
Verse 8. Wherefore, if your hand or your foot offend you, cut them off and cast them from you. It is better for you to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. And if your eye offend you, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into Gehenna fire.
All right. So obviously, how many people want to be without a hand or without a foot or want your eye plucked out? But guess what? If you had gangrene on your hand or your foot, yeah, you're going to want that thing cut off. Cut it off. I don't want to keep that there to grow over the rest of my body. If your eye is hanging out and is done and is deteriorating, you're going to want that thing plucked out. But if that thing is fine, it's just not operating the way you wanted to operate, you're going to do whatever. You're going to be patient. You're going to give it the medicine. You're going to see a doctor. You're going to do everything you got to do to preserve that. Well, understand, people are parts of the body too. So you want to be patient with people. You don't want to just judge them and cut them off. Act like it was your eye or your arm or your foot. You wouldn't be quick to just cut that off. It would be a last resort. So this is what this means. This is how we're supposed to deal with people: in humility, offering grace, being patient, because we know how severe. You ain't getting that eye back if you pluck that eye out. Finish that through verse 14.
Verse 10, take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven.
All right, so that's important too. So when it's talking about not despising one of these little ones, yeah, we ain't talking about despising these little kids. We the little ones. So you got another brother or sister in this walk, they being ignorant in certain areas, or they lacking spirit in certain areas. You can't despise them. The law says you shall not hate your brother. You shall in any wise rebuke him and not suffer sin to be upon him. So you despise that little one when they keep causing trouble, and you just, he ain't never going to repent. He just wicked. I'm not going to say nothing to him. I don't like him. How can you love your heavenly Father when you've never seen, but you hate your brother that's right in front of you? Who knows your father? Who's claiming your father? But that's not the way the flesh is designed. It's easy to love your brother that you're close with. But like Elder Zahar say, but your neighbor, I don't really know him like that. Verse 11.
For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost.
Okay, so if Mashiach came to save them which is lost, and we his body, how are we going to cast away the lost? Man, you lost. Get out of here. I ain't dealing with you. You lost. What's your purpose? To be found? So that was your whole life purpose, was for them to find you and bring you into the truth. The mother lost people ain't got nothing to do with you. Once again, thinking of ourselves more highly than we are. Verse 12.
How think you, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, does he not leave the 99 and go into the mountains and seek that which is gone astray? And if so, be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoices more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish.
Amen. So we understand that concept. If we drop $1, we're going back and look for that dollar. So we can't treat people the opposite of that and say, oh, well, I don't care. You don't know if your salvation is directly tied into that person. You the watchman. You supposed to blow the shofar, but you fed up. So you're not saying nothing to them. Or you purposely looking the other way. It says that day, his blood is on your hands. Let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5. First Kepha chapter 5. We're going to start that at verse 1 for the conclusion. Ultimately, YAH is going to place us where we need to be. We don't decide, I want to be the captain of everybody, so I'm going to do whatever. That kind of ambition will cause you to transgress the law, because you're going to justify whatever it is to achieve whatever materialistic or egotistical goal that we have. That's why we say, thy will be done. What is it that your will in my life? What do you want? I know I want to be top lion and have all the money and have all the fame and riches and all that. But what does YAH have for me? Can I do what YAH has for me to do in that capacity? We don't consider that. Can I literally live in a mansion and go preach to a bunch of poor people? Is that what he has for me? Or maybe do I need to sit in a mansion and preach to the rich people and help save some of those, the hardly that enter through the needle of the camel through the needle, the eye of the needle. But we don't consider that. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 1.
The elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of Hamashiach, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Feed the flock of Elohim which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind.
So this is how we supposed to feed the flock. Not by constraint, but willingly. We do a good deed and then we complain about it. I did the right thing, but it cost me this to do the right thing. Not for filthy lucre, not so that you can gain some kind of financial gain, tithe money, but of a ready mind. Continue.
Neither as being masters over Yahweh's heritage, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fades not away.
Eternal life with the Father.
Likewise, you younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For Elohim resists the proud and gives grace to the humble.
So he resists the proud. So even though the proud, it may say, you know what, I know I'm not right, but I'm coming to the Father. But I'm coming to him proud, making statements like, well, Yah, if I've ever transgressed the law, if I lied, if I did something wrong, please forget. Man, you coming to him proud. What you mean if? You know straight well that you done did these things. I know if, but that's the pride. If I, I'm sorry if I, you hurt somebody's feelings, they sitting there crying in front of you. So he resists that. He's not hearing you. But he gives grace to the humble. And humble is not a state of right or wrong. You can be right, you need to be humble. You can be wrong, you need to be humble. But we like to associate humility with being wrong. Because when we right, we feel like we ain't got to do that. And guess what? Every man is right in their own eyes. And that's why they can't humble themselves. That's why they're walking around with pride, because you basing things on your own eyes. You lead into your own understanding. The word tell us how we need to be. Verse 6.
Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Elohim, that he may exalt you in due time.
In his time. How are you humbling yourselves under the mighty hand of Yah? You're allowing somebody in heaven to make decisions for you on earth. That's humility. Yeah, I got the power to choke the crap out of somebody and hurt this person for what they did to me, because they are in the wrong for what they did to me. But I'm going to humble myself because Yah says, recompense not evil for evil. Avenge not yourself. So I'm going to humble myself to the creator in heaven. Then he's going to exalt you in due time.
Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you.
No, we cast all our care upon ourselves. so we can feel we have power or control over what's going on in our situation. Instead of humbling yourself and say, look, let me just focus on what I did wrong and stay in a lowly state. Let me put my care in him. Let me focus on what I'm dealing with him, because everybody's not going to understand me. But I better hope that I can understand the Most High so that I can do the things necessary to gain his favor.
Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour.
So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. So do we think that there's a literal lion walking around here that if I'm not sober and vigilant, he's just going to rip me to shreds? That's those unclean spirits. The adversary, that means the things that are adverse to righteousness, adverse to Yah's righteousness, his word. Those things are floating around in the atmosphere that you can't see. The best thing we can call is like a virus or bacteria or poison, poisonous gases. They just float. You can't see it. You don't even know it's there till you're affected by it, till you embody it. The spirit floating around can't just make somebody just die. He got to cause you to do something. Verse 9.
You know, if I could just interject real quick. We know the book says that pride comes before a fall. And here you see right after talk of being humble and talk of humility, it mentions the adversary. So that kind of suggests the link between humility and your ability to see or deal with the adversary, because we know that in pride it's blinding, you know?
Amen. And the sad part about it is poor people tend to be the people with the most pride. And that's the sad part about it. You know, as a nation, you know, we as a people are poor in a lot of things, poor in spirit and poor in money. But we can be the most prideful people. And that's just the way that we're designed. We're sottish people. So we got to renew our minds to that and understand that that devil is waiting. He already, his sentence has been given. He gonna die forever. So when somebody know they got life in jail, they gonna die by death penalty, they got to put them in a different section because they don't care. They got nothing to lose. They looking to take out as many people as they can. And that's how that adversarial spirit works. But if you're humble, he'll give you the grace of a hedge of protection so that if you do step out there, you fall into grace. Tamshi?
Verse 9, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the Elohim of all grace, who has called us unto his eternal glory by Hamashiach Yahushai, after that you have suffered a while.
Well, we want to skip over that right there. After you have suffered a while. We don't want to suffer. That's why we drug ourselves up so much, because we don't want to suffer. Some pain is necessary. After you have suffered a while. Tamshi?
Make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. So we have to have the humility to suffer for a while. When we got the ability with the state that we're in right now to get up and just be like, no, I'm not dealing with this crap. I'm out of here. I can go do this. I can go do that. I don't got to deal with this. But it's the humility that allows you to suffer for a while so you could be made perfect, so that he can establish and strengthen and settle you where you need to be. But you got to trust his will. You might not be exalted to where you feel that you should be for your particular title or your situation or whatever the case may be. Humble yourself and let him exalt you. People don't want to have respect for you or don't want to acknowledge you. That's fine. Humble yourself even more and watch how he exalts you. He's sending them same people right back to you, asking you for help, asking you for some admonishment. I've seen it plenty of times. You praying for these people that can't even pray for themselves. But that's if you offer them grace in that time. Because your time gonna come and you want that same grace. You want somebody to be able to cover you when you're unable to speak for you unconscious. You can't speak for yourself. So let us keep that circumspect, keep that in our mind. Any last questions or comments before we close out?
Just one that came to me real quick on that last part about suffering for a while. What popped into my head was in Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 3, which says, "For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be wearied and faint in your minds. You have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin." So that's something to keep in mind just when we are suffering, because we've actually sinned and we've actually done sinful things and been we're sinners. So compared to the struggle of Hamashiach, we should really be humble because he suffered and he didn't deserve it, and
Right.
and we're suffering and well, we deserve a lot. We deserve death. So
Amen. And that's the whole precept. We deserve death, but we got grace because we humbled ourselves to the Most High, acknowledged that we were sinners and that we were wrong and that we needed to die and be born again, and that his word is true and all men are liars. And Yahweh Shai, he resisted unto blood. What is he resisting? He's resisting the flesh. His flesh telling him like, look, man, get up out of here, bro. Call 144,000 angels, have them come pick you up and let's go and destroy all these Gentiles on the way out. Yep. And the betrayers out of Israel. He's resisting that all the way till they're saying they're comparing his sweat as unto blood. He's striving against that sin. On the torture state, why have you forsaken me? Please, if there's any other way, let this cup pass from me. And he did that all the way to blood. We can do it all the way until we get angry, all the way until we got to suffer for righteousness' sake, all the way until we lose some money, all the way until we lose some respect. I ain't striving against sin. I'm gonna let you. I'm telling you, I'm confessing. I'm one of the greatest offenders at that. I resist all the way until you disrespect me. Then you disrespect me. That priest, I took off the priest hat. Now you dealing with the flesh. That ain't resisting unto blood. Who are you? You thinking you greater than if Yahweh Shai didn't say nothing? He was like a dumb lamb. While they mocking him, beating him, spitting on him. And he there for them. But you can't be quiet when the person you love disrespecting you in your face. You gotta destroy that person. But see, even in my own case, when I do things like that, as soon as I see that spirit that's over me, I will immediately humble myself, and people will be confused. They'll be like, "You've seen it, Wesley." People will be confused, like, this guy must be got two personalities. No, the spirit of Yah has now re-entered my body. I'm dead wrong, and the only thing I need to know how to do is to confess my fault and humble myself immediately, because it don't matter whether I'm right or wrong. If I humble myself, he gonna give me the grace. And I don't care if you give me the grace or not. I want Yah's grace. That's the secret.
Just to kind of add on real quick, but in most of these instances, and I might be wrong, but from what I've seen, a lot of us who are in this walk, we're dealing with these things amongst other people who are in this walk.
Right.
And it's often the case that when we get into those prideful moments and we, you know, we feel we have to defend ourselves and we're in our pride, that other person who that you might be tearing down for whatever emotions you have going on, oftentimes, if that's a person who's really of the word, who has the, you know, a heart for the Father, if you just keep quiet, they'll realize and they'll come to their senses if you don't respond, kind of like how eventually, maybe not immediately, but they'll eventually realize, like, okay, I was wrong. But we often escalate situations by not, I mean, by trying to I guess fend for ourselves, you know. And one thing we can look at is, you know, perfect example is when King Dawid was being chased by Dawid was being chased by King Saul. And you know, Saul, I mean, Dawid basically humbled himself in front of Saul, and that spirit jumped off of him, the evil spirit, you know. And a lot of us, I don't think, have that. I know that's something I struggle with, because I always feel the need to defend myself, and that's something I definitely have to work on and pray about and purge out of myself. But we see that when Dawid did it, that spirit left off of him, and you know, that takes a lot of trust in the Father.
Right. Absolutely. We got to look at just us as a community. When we go through things and we're wronged by the Gentiles, we're not known for retaliating against them. We're not known for, let's go, you know, retaliate against the police. Let's go retaliate against these other nations that are killing us in grocery stores and, you know, the corner store. We're not known for that. We might break, you know, destroy some property or something like that. But let one of us do something to us. Yeah, we known for shooting up a whole neighborhood, shooting up a funeral full of our people. So we know how to be graceful and humble to everybody else, but to our own people, we ready to destroy. So we got to examine that. That goes right back to that Deuteronomy 28 that we started off the class with, 28 and 54 through 61, that hatred towards our brother, our sister, our children, to the point where we'll even kill our children before they're even born. We got to check that spirit. That's been inbred. That ain't natural. That's a curse. That's something that's been put on us. That's something that has been cultivated in this captivity, especially this last one. So we got to renew that mind, and we got to accept that, nah, I'm messed up. This ain't right. But a lot of us, our self-esteem is too low to actually look at ourselves. So we can't listen to nobody that's going to tell us something that's bad with ourselves. So that's all we're going to do today. YAH's will, everybody, was able to gain something from this class. I know we started on some of the tough subjects, talking about Kevin Samuel's death and this abortion, overturning a Roe versus Wade. Just because it's a tough subject and it's hard and it hurts, don't mean that we don't have to be educated on the proper way to deal with things. So hopefully, YAH's will, we were able to help some people with that. So if you have gained anything from our ministry and would like to donate, you can always visit our website at saviorwordofyah.org. What we're looking for right now is we're getting ready to move into our building, so we could definitely use any help that anybody can offer. If not, YAH's will gonna be done. So you can visit our website, hit the donate section, and we'll appreciate anything that comes our way. So YAH be with everybody. Shabbat Shalom, and YAH's will, we'll see you on Tuesday for Bible study.